Good day, everyone. Welcome to our Science 5 class with our topic, Modes of Reproduction in Flowering and Non-Flowering Plants. How do plants reproduce? The reproduction of new individuals or offspring from their parent is known as reproduction. Plants reproduce either through sexual or asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, new plants are obtained from seeds, while in asexual reproduction, new plants are obtained without production of seeds. Bees have an essential part in the reproduction of flowers. In this lesson, you will know more about self-pollination and cross-pollination, which are very important in the sexual reproduction in plants. A flower, sometimes known as bloom or blossom, is the reproductive structure found in flowering plants. The main function of a flower is to facilitate reproduction, usually by providing a mechanism for the union of sperm with eggs. Flowers may facilitate self-pollination and cross-pollination. Flowers are important for they can be a source of food, provide natural medicines, and aid in plant reproduction. Pollination happens when pollen grains from the male anther of a flower is transferred to the female stigma. There are two kinds of pollination, the self-pollination and the cross-pollination. Let us talk about self-pollination. Self-pollination occurs when the pollen from the anther is deposited on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant. Self-pollination parental characters are reserved. Fewer pollen grains are needed. Flowers are not large or scented, and flowers do not develop devices for attracting insect pollinator. How about cross-pollination? Cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen from one flower to the stigma of another flower on a different individual of the same species. It increases the adaptability of offspring, makes the organisms better, new and useful characters can be produced, seed produced are usually larger, and plants produced are more resistant from diseases. Once the pollen grain enters the stigma, it swells and grows a long tube that travels through the style until it reaches the ovary. The tube releases the sperm cells into the ovule to fertilize the egg cell. The fertilized egg cell and the ovule itself develops into a seed. The ovary then enlarges and thickens its walls to become a fruit. This will be the receptacle for the seeds. These seeds can eventually grow into new plants. So in sexual reproduction, plants grow from seeds. The agents of pollination are natural forces of living organisms that help transfer pollen from one flower to another, enabling plants to reproduce. These agents include wind, birds, insects, and other animals. Each agent plays a unique role in ecosystem, helping to fertilize plants and ensure the production of fruits and seeds. Please copy and answer this activity in your notebook. Plants do not only grow from seeds. There is another way of growing plants. is through asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction produces individuals that are genetically identical to the parent plants. It has two methods. One is natural vegetative reproduction and the other is artificial vegetative. Natural vegetative reproduction is any form of asexual reproduction occurring in plants where a new plant grows and develops naturally without human action. New plants may sprout from stems, roots, or leaves of a parent plant. Vegetative plant structures that arise from plant stems include runners, bulb, rhizome, suckers, and tubers. Tubers can also stretch from roots. Plantlets emerge from plant leaves. The next method of asexual reproduction is artificial vegetative. Artificial vegetative reproduction is also called cloning. This type of vegetative reproduction produces the next generation that is generally identical to the parent. One way of artificial vegetative reproduction is cutting. This is taken from any parts of a plant such as a stem, leaf, or root, which has been removed from a plant in order to induce the growth of roots to produce a new plant. It is the most commonly used method in producing new plants. Examples of these plants are sugarcane, cassava, santan, gomamela, bougainvillea, roses, and sampagita. Grafting. It is done by cutting a stem from one plant and attaching it to the stump of another plant. Santol, mango, lanzones, and calamansi are propagated through this method. Marketing is also a method that can be used to make new plants just in case the plant is already old. Another way of artificial vegetative reproduction is layering. It is a method of propagation that encourages new roots to form on branches that are still attached to the parent plant. The stem is covered with soil until it grows roots. Another method is budding. This method is done by making a T-shaped cut as an opening in the stem of the parent plant. Then a scion, which is normally the mature bud cut from another plant, is inserted underneath the bark of the parent plant, which serves as the stock. Non-flowering plants have special structures that help them reproduce asexually. Non-flowering plants reproduce through spores rather than seeds. Unlike flowering plants, which rely on flowers for reproduction, non-flowering plants such as ferns, mosses, and fungi use spores that develop in specialized structures. These spores are tiny, lightweight, and can be carried by wind, water, or animals to new locations. Some plants reproduce both sexually and asexually. Moss and ferns reproduce asexually by releasing millions of spores through the air. Please copy and answer in your notebook. Always remember, learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. Enjoy learning. Goodbye.